Today, we're going to talk about the first appearances and key issues for the greatest day of the week, New Comic Book Day, August 10th, 2022. That's coming up next. I'm Jimmy Don Kerr, and this is the Small Town Collectibles YouTube channel. So before we jump into talking about all the first appearances and the key issues and the great covers this week, I want to ask you, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, do that now. Hit that subscription button, turn on that notification bell so that you get notified when I put out new content. Smash that like button and leave a comment below and let me know if you like the video and what books you're looking forward to this week. Now, with all that out of the way, let's jump into the list this week. And I actually, for the first time in a long time, don't have any covers. Now, there's some cool covers out there. That Ghost Rider one-shot, the cover A is a nice cover, but nothing really stood out to me as far as something that I might really want to pick up. So, no covers this week. So let's jump into our second prints. Well, first up in our second prints this week, we start with Image, and we've got 8 Billion Genies, number 2, the cover C. This is, as I said, the second print. Also from Image, we've got 8 Billion Genies, number 3, the cover C, second print. Now, jump on over to Marvel, and that's where the rest of the second prints come from this week. We've got Amazing Spider-Man, number 4, the cover E, second print, from John Romita Jr. We also have Iron Cat, number 1, the cover H, second print by Pierre Perez. We've got Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood, number 2, the cover C, second print, cover by Ryan Stegman. And then wrapping up our second prints this week, we've got New Fantastic Four, number 1. This is the cover I, second print, from Todd Knock. So some nice second prints out this week. If you collect those, let's jump over into our one-shots. So leading off our one-shots this week comes from Dark Horse, and we've got Hellboy and the BPRD 1957 Falling Sky, number 1. A cryptozoologist and Hellboy travel to a small town in Virginia to investigate a mysterious creature that stalks the woods. Hellboy and the BPRD 1957 Falling Sky, number 1 from Dark Horse. Now we jump on over into DC, and we've got Dark Crisis, Worlds Without a Justice League, Green Lantern number 1. When Pariah and his forces of the Great Darkness laid waste to the most powerful superheroes of all time, all hope was lost. But the spirit of the Justice League can never truly die. John Stewart takes flight to defend his planet and the Emerald Knight of Justice alongside allies Red Hood and the Blind Prophet Kyle Raniere. Plus, Hawkgirl takes to the sky in her own unique world. So that is Dark Crisis, World Without a Justice League, Green Lantern number 1. From Dynamite, we've got Red Sonja, Fairy Tales number 1. Sonja as you've never seen her in a fairy tale. Once upon a time, a handful of magical beans fell to the ground, and up grew a towering beanstalk that reached above the clouds. Those brave enough to scale the beanstalk would find at its top a hungry giant with a taste for human bones. But his hunger will not be sated when he is visited by a she-devil with a sword. That is Red Sonja, Fairy Tales number 1 from Dynamite. Another book from Dynamite this week, we've got Vampirella, Fairy Tales number 1. Once upon a time, there was a cottage deep within the forest where an elder lived, eagerly awaiting the arrival of her granddaughter with wine and cake, not knowing of the horrid fanged beast that stalks the forest, seeking easy prey. But little does the fanged beast realize that the granddaughter has fangs of her own. Vampirella, Fairy Tales, number 1 from Dynamite. Now, IDW, we've got one this week, and that's Dungeons & Dragons Annual 2022, number 1. The Witchlight Carnival is a traveling circus filled with wild wonders aplenty, but its sensory splendors bring deep danger as well. Fan favorite D&D writer Jim Zub explores the Feywild realm in this special self-contained issue that's perfect for new readers and gaming fans alike. Dungeons & Dragons Annual 2022, number 1 from IDW. Now we jump over to Marvel, and the first book up is Avengers and Moon Girl number 1. Even after a team-up with Miles Morales to scout Brooklyn for her missing T-Rex, Moon Girl is still missing Devil Dinosaur, and now she has a wonky DD clone to try and stabilize for fear of explosive repercussions. But the Avengers have found some rogue dinosaur activity and need her to come with them right away to fix it. From Wakanda to the moon. That's Avengers and Moon Girl #1. Ghost Rider, this is the one I mentioned earlier. It's got a really cool cover. I do really like this one. It's Ghost Rider, Vengeance Forever #1. Johnny Blaze, still reeling from his time in Hayden Falls, seeks the counsel of a seer named Necro the Tattooist, who uses his needle to bring dark truths to the surface. What follows is not only a wild tour through Ghost Rider's lost history, but also a warning about the future and examination of the troubling weight of legacy. That's Ghost Rider Vengeance Forever #1. Also for Marvel, we've got Giant Size Gwen Stacy #1. This is a 120-page one-shot of original stories, plus issues 1 through 3 of the 2019 Gwen Stacy series. That's Giant Size Gwen Stacy #1. Miss Marvel and Wolverine #1. When a mysterious threat lands in New York City, Miss Marvel takes matters into her own embiggened hands. But with Krakoan security tech compromised, you can bet Wolverine and the X-Men won't be far behind. Miss Marvel and Wolverine #1. Last one shot this week comes from Horror Hound Comics, and that is Revenge of the Horror Hound #1. As the harvest moon rises, so too does a bloodthirsty hellhound, risen from the grave for a night of terror as a small country town is besieged by this gnarled and riled monster. But why has he come seeking vengeance? What secrets does this sleepy town hold? Who could be responsible for the beast conjuring? And how many people will suffer for the sins of a single man? I think that one sounds kind of fun. Revenge of the Horror Hound #1, and that is from Horror Hound Comics. All right, now that takes care of our one-shots this week. Let's jump into the big two, and as always, we start with DC. First up, we've got Deceased, War of the Undead Gods #1. This is an 8-issue limited series continuing the Deceased alternate reality zombie franchise in the DC universe. We've also got Sandman #1, or at least a reprint of Sandman #1 out this week. And of course, that was from the DC Vertigo line. But that might be something with the new TV show on Netflix. You might want to grab this and give it a read, just kind of so you know what the show is based off of. And then the last book from DC is Superman, Son of Kal-El #14, where we get the debut of Jay Nakamura's superhero costume. All right, now let's jump over into Marvel. 3 books from Marvel in our keys this week. Amazing Spider-Man #7. We get the debut of the Oscorp Spider-Man suit. This is seen but not worn. So basically it's probably hanging up, kind of like what they've got on the cover of this book, where you get to see the costume, but Spidey's not actually wearing it. Book I'm actually kind of looking forward to because I watched the new Prey show, or Prey movie on Hulu. Predator #1. Marvel begins publishing the Predator. Some dope covers on this one as well. Love the original Predator movie. And there's a guy that's actually from here, or from the area, Boyd Holbrook's actually in Sandman, that was in the last Predator movie that came out. So yeah, can't wait to read this one, Predator #1. We wrap up our Marvel keys with X-Men Legends #1. This is the premiere issue written by Roy Thomas that chronologically occurs when Wolverine debuted circa 1974. All right, now, big two done. Let's jump into our indie books. We start with Abstract Studios, and we've got Parker Girls #1. A trio of operatives set out to solve a murder case of a beloved actress being covered up by her billionaire husband. So that's Parker Girls #1, and that is from Abstract Studios. From Aftershock, we've got Samurai Doggy #1. After the Fourth War of the Sun, Doggy was left for dead, but now seeks revenge against the greatest empire of machines and robots that has ever existed. That's Samurai Doggy #1, and that comes from Aftershock. Archie Comics, seems like Archie's been on here every week for the past 3 or 4 weeks. Archie and Friends, Thrills and Chills #1. A brand new story kicks off this collection of tales, thrill rides, exciting adventures, and odd occurrences. In Return to Mirrordale, a house of mirrors on the Riverdale boardwalk piques everyone's interest. When no one listens to Archie's advice to avoid this familiar haunt, Betty, Veronica, and Reggie all go in to encounter obnoxious and opposite versions of themselves. Will they be able to escape as themselves, or will their bizarro mirror world versions take over? That's Archie and Friends, Thrills and Chills #1, and that's of course from Archie Comics. Couple of books from Blood Moon Comics this week. Cover the Dead with Lime #1. Great Plague ravishes England, killing thousands in its first year. Housebound infected homes are marked with a painted red cross, warning of the spread as plague doctors are sent into towns to face the impending doom. So that's Cover the Dead with Lime #1. And then also from Blood Moon Comics, we've got Usher of the Dead, Great Question #1. Sariel is the angel of death. One question that has been plaguing humanity since the beginning is what happens when we die. This is what transpires. So I think that sounds kind of cool. I'm actually going to check that one out. Usher of the Dead, Great Question #1. From Dynamite, we got a little 007 this week, a little James Bond action. We've got 007 #1, new series out this week. Bond tracks down the shadowy organization known as Myrmidon. Didn't say that right at all. Myrmidon. It does have Dawn at the end, and I'm Dawn. So Myrmidon. 007 #1 from Dynamite. Go check it out. From IDW, book I'm definitely picking up. G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Best of Storm Shadow. Once a warrior for Cobra, then a soldier for G.I. Joe. But always an Arasha Cage ninja, first and foremost. He's Tommy Arasha Cage, aka Storm Shadow, and these are some of his greatest adventures. That's G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Best of Storm Shadow. That's from IDW, and who doesn't love Storm Shadow if you love G.I. Joe like I do? All right, now let's jump into Image. Always look forward to their books each week. We've got The Deadliest Bouquet #1. Three sisters must set aside longtime rivalries to solve their mother's murder. Love a good murder mystery. That's Deadliest Bouquet #1. And then we've got Love Everlasting #1. In this ongoing romance series, a woman discovers that she is trapped in an endless cycle. A problem to be solved, a man to marry, and every time she falls in love, she disappears into another teary saga. So that's Lone Everlasting #1, and that and The Deadliest Bouquet #1 both come from Image this week. From Oni Press, we've got Rick and Morty, Oni Press 25th Anniversary Edition #1. Celebrate Oni's 25th anniversary with the smash hit Rick and Morty #1. Reprinted here, discover the issue that changed the course of comics history, blurring the lines between real and unreal. The story that launched 100 issues and counting, Rick and Morty #1. Or, just enjoy this really fun first issue of Rick and Morty madness. So that's Rick and Morty, Oni Press 25th Anniversary Edition #1. And then wrapping up our keys this week from the indie companies comes from Titan Press. We've got Blade Runner, Black Lotus #1. This is set after the events of Blade Runner, Black Lotus anime series. Elle, aka the Black Lotus Killer, is still wanted for murder by the LAPD. Elle closes one chapter of her life and starts a new one far beyond Los Angeles as she pursues her destiny in this brand new adventure, expanding the world of Blade Runner and a new type of replicant. That's Blade Runner, Black Lotus #1 from Titan Comics. All right, so that wraps up all the key issues from the Big Two and all our indie companies this week. And our last category, as always, is our first appearances. We've got 3 books this week with first appearances in them, and they all come from Marvel. Let's get started. Avengers #59. This is the first full appearance of Reno Phoenix and the Star Brand Kid, whose previous cameo was in Avengers #50. Now, this next book is, I'm not sure if this is the first appearance or not, but if I run across these, and I think maybe there will be one to, kind of have you on the lookout for, that this book fits that bill. That's Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty #3. The solicitation reads, who or what is the redacted? So the redacted could be a person. If it is, it's potentially a first appearance, so be on the lookout for that. And then wrapping up our first appearances this week is Ghost Rider Vengeance Forever #1, and we get the first appearance of Necro the Tattooist, a seer who uses his needle to discover truth. So that's it, guys. That is our first appearances, our key issues, our second prints, our one-shots. Normally our covers, no covers this week, unfortunately. I'm sure I'll end up picking one up. I'll get to that's what always happens. I'll do this list and I don't put anything on it, and then I'll go to the LCS and I'll find one that just I have to buy, right? That's what always happens. So, guys, thank you so much for coming over and hanging out with me for a little while on the channel today. I really do appreciate it. I hope this video helps you in some way. Make your selections on New Comic Book Day, August 10th. 2022. Hope you guys have the greatest new comic book day ever. I know I'm going to, and you know how we end this thing. Until next time.